This is Module 7, Lesson 1. We are now going to look at molecular compounds or covalent compounds. We spent Module 6 looking at ionic compounds, so this is kind of the alternate to ionic compounds. If you don't make ionic bonds, what can you do? Well, then you can make covalent bonds. So first and foremost, here's some definitions for you, as you can see. Covalent bonds are unlike ionic bonds. Ionic bonds were made by the transfer of electrons, and covalent bonds here are made by the sharing of electrons. So this is typically done by two or more nonmetals. Whereas ionic bonds were made from a metal and a nonmetal, this is always done by two or more nonmetals. So, when they get together, they make what's called a molecule. A molecule is a neutral group of atoms. That means it has no charge. So they are neutral just like ionic bonds were. But they have shared. They've not given up. They've not exchanged electrons, nothing of the sort. Monatomic is used to describe single atoms, like this would be monatomic oxygen. Whereas if you have two elements or two atoms together, you have a diatomic molecule. So this is diatomic fluorine, diatomic oxygen, diatomic nitrogen. This is diatomic as well. Even though it's two different elements, it's still exactly two atoms. Anything with two atoms bonded together is diatomic. Okay. Then we have another word here. Some of it gets redundant, I think. A molecular compound is simply a compound that is made up of a covalent bond. So what you would refer to this is, this is a molecular compound. All of these are molecular compounds. So instead of it being an ionic compound, you could call it molecular or covalent. Okay. We learned the properties of ionic compounds. We need to learn the properties of molecular compounds. As you can read on the screen, they're largely opposite to what ionic compounds were. Molecular compounds have lower melting and boiling points, which means many are gases and liquids at room temperature. They don't have to be, but they frequently are. Some of them are solids at room temperature. Most of them are composed of two or more nonmetals. The reason that it says most is because our metalloids can group together with a nonmetal and make molecular compounds. In the previous module, we explained that metalloids act as nonmetals. So if you put them with another nonmetal, it's like having two nonmetals together. Okay, now some more words. Molecular and empirical formulas. A molecular formula is what you already know. It's what you would refer to as just any regular old formula for a compound. It says right here that it does not have to be the lowest whole number ratio. Does not have to be. So for example, H2O2. That is a molecular formula for peroxide. Or C6H12O6. That's the molecular formula for glucose. It's not the lowest whole number ratio. Now, an empirical formula, it is the lowest whole number ratio for a molecular formula. So it doesn't have to be exactly the same as the molecular. For example, if you reduce this down, it would become CH2O. Those aren't the same. This right here is the empirical formula for this molecular formula. Now, there's other sugars that exist in the universe. So here's another sugar, C5H10O5. It would have the exact same empirical formula as glucose, but they're different sugars. So molecular formulas can be reduced to make empirical formulas. Here's another example with this one. H2O2 would simply become H1O1 or HO. All right, H2O, that's the molecular formula for water. Well, its empirical formula is exactly the same. Sometimes compounds have the exact same molecular and empirical formula, and sometimes they are multiples like this. All right, that was really fast. You can go back and replay it. You have some practice problems that basically examine, do you understand the definitions that we just did? Nothing super difficult at this point. Moving forward and looking at the next lesson will be longer. We're going to be drawing some more. I would recommend that you have some different colors at that time. So maybe get that in order, find you some colored pencils or some colored pens as we move forward. Or you can use pencil, that's okay. Just regular things. I can show you how to do it with the same color. Go to your practice and let me know if you have any questions.